volunteer to add to this panel? Very impromptu, but please, welcome. Let's make this fun, guys. Come on, anyone who wants to add to this panel. The last panel spoke about data analysis paralysis, is what I remember. So, anyone interested to come and join us on the panel? On the count of 3. Oh, there we go! Huge round of applause! Woo! Too ad hoc and too fun. Great. Would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello everyone. I'm Harish. I head up revenues for Landmark Group Retail Media Division. It made sense because I could see based off faces and another retailer. So it makes sense, right? One retailer to be here. I could have asked Alicia. I don't know where is Alicia. Gone for the coffee break, but I think it makes sense that one retailer comes from that perspective of how the shopper data is good for the brand. Very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Harish.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's kickstart this panel right away. So the first question is in one sentence, and that is open for all 3 of you. In one sentence, how would you describe the role of shopper data in shaping brand and retail strategies in our region, which is MENA? Who wants to go first? Okay.
All right, I would say ladies first.
Ladies and university first, so you can go.
Okay, let me start. So the way I look at it, if I had to define how shoppers' data is shaping what the brands and retailers really right now is, in one word, let me put it, instead of sentence, is trust. So end of the day, what we are trying to do is, we are trying to gain the trust of our shoppers. We are using a lot of tech capabilities, be it in the form of the Adtech, which we just heard about in the previous panel. As a brand, we are just trying to make sure that we are sending the right communication, the right messaging to the consumers, but with one intent, that can I increase that trust by that one incremental value, and that is the kind of consistent fight which we have with every other brands operating in the same category space, and that is the reason I feel that shopper data is universally available with everyone. But are we using it in the right way to gain that trust of the consumers? That is what differentiates a brand from others.
I think I'm going to add to that and say something quite controversial. We do, as retailers, collect a lot of shopper data. We have a lot of analysts looking at the data, but sometimes, and not sometimes, many times in the big boardrooms, what we see is shopper data is overlooked in favor of sales, margins, many other parameters, and when higher-ups get lost in this data, it's our job to make sure to say, but where is the customer in all of this? What does the customer actually think and why? Because a lot of times the data is also misplaced.
Okay. So the topic is benefits of retailer shoppers data, right? So see, what does a brand needs? Brand needs to grow their revenues, obviously sales, and more insights on which they can work and probably optimize the sales. Retailers, they have got both the platforms. They have got financial platforms where they can see, okay, fine, if I'm putting my money, that money is spent where and what's the uplift I can see. With retailers like Landmark Group, we have got data, loyalty data, where we can track users who have been coming on platform, both on site and store, making a transaction. We, with this whole retail media approach, because this whole, I think this session since morning is around retail media. So we, as Landmark Group, we are trying to create an ecosystem where we can provide that insights to the brands. That if you're putting money, this is the return you're getting on every dollar you spend with Landmark Group. And that ecosystem, again, the pillar of that ecosystem is shoppers' data, being it loyalty, being it first party, zero party, you can call anything, right? Loyalty data, transaction data, psychographic, browsing data. So that all, if clubbed together, I think that makes sense for brand to come and test it out. And I think brands in the past, they have tested and they have seen some good results. Since retail media is still growing in the market, and that was the last panel which we discussed, it's still growing from the retailer side, where it's not just mere tech project, it's a change management. And a lot of discussion is happening internally, but I think brand is also getting to see, sense that data, which has been used traditionally for different perspective, like growing their margin, but now it's more insightful for the brands to come and use it. So it's gold mine. It's like at one place you're getting to see the data, everything, and then also attributing it to the dollar spend. So I think that makes sense for the brands. I'm sorry, I thought Faces is a brand. I didn't know that you guys are iterative. Sorry.
I'm going to use that mic since we just have
Sure.
So, Harish, since you spoke about loyalty and you're from Landmark, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you collect and analyze this huge mountain of data through your Shukran program?
Data is already there. We have been collecting that data. Thing was, how can we make sense of the data?
Yes.
Database was already there, and I have got some partners sitting there. Epsilon, Mars is there, so we have been using Epsilon as our loyalty database. Data was already sitting there. This last year, we onboarded Omnichannel as a CDP platform. So data, again, powered by technology, can make sense for the shoppers. So one CDP or DMP, whichever you guys can afford. Both. I mean, CDP is one step advance of DMP. So if CDP you guys can afford, good. Or a clean room where we have like run team sitting here. So making sense of the data is key, and that's what we did. We tried piping in all the loyalty data in CDP, all the browsing data, all the transactional data, school level data, every single that we capture, right? And started making sense cohorts, audiences which are relevant for the brands. I mean, based off obviously the data only proven, but there are other brands like beauty brands, baby brands, endemic and non-endemic both. I mean, there are terms. Non-endemic is the brands that we're not selling on a marketplaces. So say travel, say airlines. They want to target our shoppers, travel shoppers. That intelligence is the key, and that's what we are doing. We have built around 150 odd segments. 150 odd audience segments.
Wow.
Customizable in case if any brand wants to come and say, we want to target a mother who have got a kid 0 to 6 months and have been looking for a stroller from home center. Can you do, and has got an income range of, or have been frequent shoppers, or have been buying some high order values products. Can you do that for us? Yes. So data was always there. Building intelligence and sense on that data was the key, which we sort of resolved last year. And then now I think data monetization, because in the end it's all either you sell your product or I get revenues for your marketing. In the end, that's what it boiled down to. But there are steps. Looking forward to be
100%, as Darine was mentioning earlier, when we go to the board meetings, the data and the consumer, the focus moves from there to sales target. So on this particular topic, when it comes to analyzing huge data, Rahul and Darine, would you like to add something from your own industrial experience?
Well, I think the biggest mistake we also make, I'm going to say all the controversial things that's boiling in my heart today.
We love that.
What's the day today?
Looking at averages. So a lot of time we say our average customer does this, our AOV is this, our average customer buys from this brand, or your brand's average customer is this and this. But what we've discovered is when you dig deeper outside of the averages, this is where the interesting data is. Like building out the smaller cohorts, figuring out why don't you have enough of these non-average customers and who they are, should you recruit them? A lot of times we do too much for the average customer, and this is not the real money maker for the brand, honestly. Maybe we should look more towards the VIPs or the customers we don't really have. A lot of us now, I think, are chasing Gen Zs, right? And the younger Gen Zs, and it's a big topic now, like how do we recruit them? Your data is not going to tell you the story, most likely.
I think since she has already spoken about the controversial part, let me try to add a different flavor to it. So the way Harish was mentioning about there's so many segments which is already available. I'm sure the way as a brand, how we have started looking at it is, should we really go broad or should we go targeted? Because in this market specifically, when we have only 11 million audience, okay, we can actually go broad and we can start targeting each and every person. But the problem is how much of that can be measured as a part of the closure. And that is where we are not able to really find the right balance between how broad we need to go or how targeted we can go and use that targeting to expand with definitely with the partners, publisher networks over here. So that is one key challenge which we are trying to figure out as a brand. Okay, and this is one challenge. The other way to look at it is how is this data shaping us internally? So typically what used to happen in the at least in the Basra ecosystem is we always used to have this marketing team coming up with their own set of new product launches happening. And there was sometimes, because being a global brand, we always used to get some products from our global launches coming to this market, right? The relevancy might be less in the market. So what we have tried to now understand is, can we use the data from the retail partners and can we start customizing those information and giving it back to the brand team, giving it back to the digital team? Because as Harish rightly mentioned, if I want to target a mother, or if I want to target, because we are being a skincare brand, we are also targeting audiences in different age groups, right? So if I want to target a mother, what are the different categories or affinities which this shopper is actually looking at right now? And who can better give this information than actually the retailers right now in this market? So we try to understand from them what is the highest affinity segments right now which we can tap into, and we start targeting these audiences from a marketing standpoint. So that is a big change which we are doing. The other big change which we are doing is not just talking from a consumer standpoint, we are also looking at their behavior standpoint. The way the market is evolving right now is not just the traditional omnichannel, but today it's also about the way e-commerce has really evolved, and all the traditional retailers are also now entering into this space. It's also challenging us back in the form of a data of how should we really look into our supply chain model. So as a brand, am I even ready to customize my offering to the retailers right now? This is what my consumer is looking for in the shelf digitally right now. So these are the kind of changes. So what I look at it is one way of looking at it is the segmentation of consumers, but internally also how we are using this information and changing the ways of working within our organization is also something which we have evolved. Because I believe that if you're only going to look at a consumer, it's going to become a responsibility of one team. What we have tried to do is everyone in the organization has to change if you really want to move this space right now and if you want to win in this space. So that's the way we are trying to use this information and looking at it both inside out and outside.
That's a very great perspective, Rahul. You have actually covered the piece where we talk about collaboration in data sharing when it comes between retail and brands, right? Coming back to Darine, in your industry, what do you feel, which kind of shopper data are most relevant since you're in a beauty industry?
So for the longest time, I think everybody was hiding their shopper data, right? It was this big secret. And I remember back in the days when we used to send presentations to brands, we'd say, this we will not send in the preview, we'll only show, in the presentation. But actually that's not right. Like if you want to attract the right brands, build the right campaigns, have the right partnerships, I think everybody should be very proud to scream out their shopper data and really educate the brands around that. Because only with that, like matching your overall data with that brand's data, can you come up with the right insights to launch the brand, to manage the brand, to increase, again, the sales, the most important metric in the world, which is sales. And we work very hard on this now to make sure that the brands know our shopper data by heart, let's say.
That's great. So coming back to you, Harish, and maybe Rahul, you can also add on this point, that how do you ensure fairness when it comes to data sharing partnerships? Like referring to Darine's point that we should always be open in sharing our shoppers' data so that everybody should know. So how do you ensure fairness in this whole process?
See, from the brands which are being sold on marketplaces, whichever marketplaces sell your brand, you will be having some sense of what works for you, what doesn't work for you. With this retail media thing, what you have got additional is more insights that we can copy. So if you are selling products on a marketplace, data sharing with you, I mean not everything, but yes, I think it will give you enough to make sure that your sales goes up. I think that is okay. That and it's not an alien term with retail beauty. You have they understand it's coming, and brands, they are waiting for it. No matter which brand that is, they are waiting for. There's this opportunity where they can get more insights. So data sharing with endemic brands, I think that's more it's okay. Outside for non-endemic, since once user has left the ecosystem, and post that what happens, that lies either with this brand, which we're advertising, or with the agencies. With them, if we have proper DPs in place, because times, see, trust is there, respect, friendship is there. We have to ensure that there are privacy policies, because we all are employed, right? Someday something will come and say, we find why you share this data with them, and how that impacts. So that evaluation, that normalization is still there. With clean rooms, where we have data piping, and I think that's also more on the side of the EPS, where brand comes, we come up with a data, brand comes with their data. If it makes sense for them to do their sales, not just online, but whatever activity they do on marketing, and if there's revenues on store, and that makes sense. Again, covered by DPA with the rules. So I think more there are ways which we can go ahead with. Attribution is one thing we asked. What's the attribution channel? There are ways you can measure the performance. There are ways, and there has been always the ways, being it with e-commerce players out there in the market, where they have some windows, back windows, it's there. And
privacy and consent
yeah,
becomes a bigger piece, but then definitely there are ways which very enough. Rahul, would you like to share something on consent?
The way, so I look at it, like fairness between both the brand and the retailer right now is, I think the basic models right now in which both are operating is, both are here to make money. Okay, so we want to, so it's more like the retailer wants to use this information so that definitely they can monetize, and that is exactly what Harish is doing as far as true. So, but it's also important for a brand like us to also see how are we able to win market share, win penetration, okay, and end of the day win more consumers. Okay, so that's the principle right now in which we are. I can say a lot of fluffy stuff around that, but that is how we are operating. If the P&L is negative, definitely I'll not be sitting here and having a chat in any other panel. So, but the idea is, how do you win that trust consistently is the key topic over here. So the way we are looking at it is building strong partnership with retailers with the kind of understanding that how can we grow each other's clear KPIs. Okay, and when we are transparent about our KPIs, and one thing which Darine rightly mentioned, there was a time when everybody actually wanted to hide their own thing. Like, okay, as if like, okay, it might be critical because you are not trusting the other person right now, whether this information is going to be misused or used for something else altogether. So they might use this customer data and they might just send the traffic to some other brand right now. So that's a typical mindset which we all work with, right? But the idea is, how can we make sure that we both own each other's KPIs and to show success? Because if I'm able to show success to Harish and Darine right now, in terms of if they see success, if I'm able to achieve that success for them, if he has a model that, okay, I want to improve my margin next for this year, and if from this activity which I'm trying to build it, if I'm able to add an incremental value of additional margin to this KPI, he will be more than happy to support me in my cost. And that's the way I look at it is, it's all about winning consumers in the end for everyone, but the idea is, how can I actually win my KPIs through the retailers, and how I can also achieve their KPIs through my activity, and consistently doing this on a regular basis. Trust definitely becomes one thing, partnership becomes consistent, but the discipline of building this continuously is something which is very important.
100%, absolutely. I think, Darine, the next question is for you, since we are talking about sharing the data, being fair with sharing and trusting. So how do you think shoppers' data influence decisions around promotions, maybe in store or offline?
Again, we have a lot of pre-made consumptions. Like one of the consumptions that we have.
You truly are.
Yeah. We have, I don't know if you all have this, like online steals customers from offline. No? Do you fight your retail teams on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm part of digital, so I can always
So you're stealing the customers from
No,
offline.
no, no. See, we are,
100% I would agree.
no one can steal anyone.
Yes.
It's the user behavior which has changed, and then we can't
Exactly.
stop it. There is wave, we can't stop the wave.
So actually what we've discovered is by looking at this data, which everybody has ignored for a long while and we just had our people to prove that it's not true. Like online is a great channel for recruiting new customers.
As well, yes.
Online customers are omnichannel customers, they're amazing customers. And shoppers shop differently online and offline. Once you recognize it, you can make a lot of consensuses in the team and take very different decisions. So I think this is one example that you can see.
If I may add,
Yes, of course.
so if I may add to what Darine just mentioned, I think one of the points which Sagarika mentioned is the pricing, right? Like how impacts is the pricing and promotions right now in this space. Trust me, I think that is been a traditional mindset and the behavior which we all have been learning about. Like we always say that consumers are looking for low prices. That's like the harsh reality. But trust me, I think the entire concept has now got evolved, and especially in this market where I see that the definition of pricing is very different for each consumer. Okay, so for someone and for some cohorts right now, the definition of pricing would be more of convenience. Okay, and that is how the pricing strategies have changed. If the brands are not able to understand this clear fact or differentiate, they all are always going to go into that vicious cycle of going with the low pricing approach, because gone are those days where we actually used to say that everyday low pricing is a strategy which will actually help you win. It might help you win with certain cohort of shoppers who are the discount shoppers or the deal seekers right now, but there are also shoppers where you can actually improve the margin. Okay, and that is the role of all of us sitting over here, is how do we really balance our margins across the different shopper cohorts and across the different portfolios which we manage within our own scope. But that is how I look at it, is you need to understand as a brand, one needs to understand what the shoppers are looking for in their respective channel, and are you offering those things. Like I can just give a simple example right now. So we are operating with a lot of this quick com players right now in this market, and they are typically growing pretty fast for most of the brands, and especially for categories in which we are operating in this. We are seeing that they are growing in close to triple-digit growth also in certain cases. Okay, so what really happens in this space is availability becomes one of the critical factors, because historically when you say, okay, we need to be available in a single warehouse and then that's it, and then the shopper can actually see you across every single touch point from where they are looking for placing an order. But trust me, the entire model has got changed now with these dark store models, where a consumer will not be able to find, like being in this place today where we are sitting, there might be a dark store close to this place, but if my product is not sitting in that dark store, I will not be able to place an order. Then what is the role of the pricing if the product is not available? The pricing will only come into play when your product is available, when it is competing with some other players right in the space. Then the role of pricing and promotions will come. I think a lot of times we are so dazed with all these new jargons, new terms like pricing, promotion, visibility. I believe that the hierarchy will start when you have the basics in place. You need to have your availability, distribution, listings done, and then you start thinking about your content. Having the best pricing with the shitty content is not going to help at all. So I think that is where the evolution of all the players right now in the space has to also go up. That how can we first get our products available, distributed across all the stores, even in the retail formats? Am I really available across all the formats of the stores? There's hypermarket, supermarket, the regular stores, convenience stores. Am I really available in all the formats? If no, first try to fix that before getting into the other topics right now, is what I always believe. Retail media definitely is an enabler, and I always believe that the enabler will become like the icing on the cake right now. That's how I look at it, and that is how the differentiation should happen.
Thank you so much, Harish. It was extremely, Rahul, it was extremely basic but extremely valuable. So to end this panel with one last question to all of you in one sentence, okay, because I can see people are very restless for coffee. So in one sentence, one thing that retailers and brands must do today to maximize the value of shoppers' data.
I think there should be a mutual trust between all of us, and I'm actually glad to see that in this market especially, the retailers are actually opening up to share their information, to the brands, and they all have that mutual trust to, as I said, we all are trying to win our own KPIs, but it's also coming across that they are trying to support each other's KPI in the journey of building that trust. Because trust me, when I came to this
Rahul, it was one sentence.
I think mutual trust.
We spoke on all our behalf.
So I just went with the drift right now. So in one sentence, if I say the mutual trust between the retailers and the brands is really going to help win the shoppers.
Mutual trust it is. All right, let's go to Darine.
Obviously, nothing is better than trust. But I think when it comes to campaigns and ongoing success and building up sales, what's very important is iterative processes and iterative experimentation. So a lot of times you see brands doing one campaign and there's a lot of elements that were not aligned, not learning from it, doing it again and again the same way instead of, trying different things. And also maybe they do one campaign and they say, okay, this channel doesn't work for us. It's not really true. So you have to keep trying to really optimize the channel.
So for retailers, one sentence, just create an unified, data-driven, omnichannel ecosystem. Brands will follow. This is going to explode. It's already, you can see education piece happening around the market with agencies jumping in, making investments, brands, getting educated, technology partners sitting out there, coming, educating everyone. So it's going to explode. So trust,
Trust, experimentation,
yeah.
and omnichannel. Seamless omnichannel.
Build a proper, seamless, data-driven, unified ecosystem. That's
Awesome.
what it
Thank
is.
you so much, panelists. If you guys have any questions, you can catch them in the coffee. Okay, we'll take one.